So if you can hear my voice and you're out there in the lobby, you want to come on in, this the time. Appreciate y'all. Drew, you and Andres, and if y'all want to come on in for the conversation, it's all good. I just want to welcome y'all and give you my thanks and my appreciation. All of our panelists are here. And I'm super excited to kind of get this conversation going. But first, I wanted to just do a quick introduction. So, for those of you who know me, and I think it's all of you, my name is Paul Willis. And I'm a hip hop artist. I'm about hip hop, education, social justice, building community, and doing shows, doing concerts. That's amazing. But we rarely ever take the time to really connect with each other in spaces where the music isn't the first and foremost thing, right? So I started a hip hop chess club here in the city as a way to kind of bring people together around other interests, particularly folks who are involved in the hip hop community. So back in February, I had another panel conversation. It was called Downtown Crossings. Some of y'all might have had an opportunity to go. It was an opportunity to talk about hip hop, fashion, and LGBTQ issues. And it was something very similar to this, where we had folks who were participating in the culture on the panel, and we had an amazing conversation that it was kind of about hip hop, but also about a whole bunch of other issues as well. So I just wanted to take the time to kind of introduce all of our panelists who are here. And I'm gonna start with my guy to my left. His name is Terrance Shelton. We met during our leadership program, the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program. Your title's like Senior Training and Learning, Senior Manager of Learning and Development at GoldenOne. But Terrance is also an MC, and born and raised right here in South Sac, and is just a super dope individual. We decided we're gonna write a book on hip hop and leadership and how it affects folks in the professional realm. So I just wanted to introduce him. We got Lady Kid, who is a hip hop artist here in the city. And Joey, she has that clothing line, Miss Handsome, was on the panel back in February, wanted to recommend Lady Kid for this panel. So we appreciate you. We thank you for being here. We've got Reverie, an artist out of LA, and it's super dope. You and Gavlyn have been rocking shows here the past couple of days, and wanted to kind of create this opportunity for y'all to just connect with folks in a different kind of way. We know that you rocked the stage super crazy, was there at the show last night at Blue Lamp, and I know a bunch of y'all were there too. So y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Gavlyn. And you're from the Valley? San Fernando Valley. What's dope about Gavlyn, and for some of y'all who have been following like my stuff, the first album that I released this year was the Broken Complex mixtape. And you work with, DJ Hoppa and Silly Kid and the whole squad. And it was a really dope opportunity to work with them. So, appreciate you for being here. And we've got Delilah Clay, who is super dope. We were also in the same leadership program, the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program. Delilah is a lawyer with Manat, Phelps, and Phillips. Yes. There we go. And you also were lobbying and supported the legislation around the Crown Act, which prevents discrimination against natural hair in the workplace. So we got super dope folks here on the panel. We're gonna try and kind of get through as many of these questions as we can, but I also wanted to create some time towards the end to do some Q&A. Does that sound good? Because they're dope, but I know all of y'all, and I know that you bring tremendous value in this room and in this space. Cool? Yeah. Cool. So we got some mics right behind y'all. So one mic for every two people. So Terrance and I will share this mic. And I'll just start with this first question. If you could just share just your name, your pronouns. So I'll give an example of this. I kind of did titles already, but and if you could just let folks know what's your favorite song right now, right? So my name is Paul Willis, he, him, his, and my favorite song right now is Afeni by Rhapsody. It just came out, so.
Hello again. My name is Terrance, father, husband, a little bit of everything. And my favorite song right now is "Way Back Home," YBN by YBN Corday.
My name is Lady Kid. They call me Kid. I would say my favorite song right now is probably "Wanna Be Your Man" by Michi So Crazy.
What's up, everybody? It's Reverie. Thank you guys for having me. My favorite song right now is "What's the Move" by Young Thug, and what's his name? I forgot his name, but it's on the new Young Thug album. What's the Move?
Hello, everybody. My name is Gavlyn. Thank you for having me. And dang, I would say I've been reliving the Pimp a Butterfly album all over again. So my favorite song right now, even though it came out a while ago, is I think it's "You Ain't Gotta Lie" by Kendrick Lamar.
Hey folks, Delilah Clay. She, her, hers. My favorite song right now is also a little bit old, but Post That by LaKaylee 47, which I've been bumping. It's great.
She's dope. She's also on the new Rhapsody album. Delilah, since you still got the mic, I'm gonna start with you. What's one thing that you love about hip hop?
I think when hip hop is at its best, it's about telling stories in a way that is authentic and oftentimes subversive. And that's what I look for in hip hop music. That's what I love. I love the opportunity to be representative of people that don't often get a voice in the mainstream culture. And I think when hip hop is doing really its job, it's doing that. So that's me.
Cool, appreciate you.
That's a good question. I would say my favorite thing about hip hop is I love where it came from, and I also love how young the genre still is, and that it's still growing and it's still being created in so many different ways by up and coming artists. And I love that it's like the voice of real life.
I love everything about hip hop. I think that hip hop gives a platform and a voice to many people who otherwise wouldn't have any way of expressing themselves and would not have somebody that they could listen to, that they could really relate to on a personal level. I love the diversity of hip hop. I love how when hip hop started, it was just hip hop, kind of like rock and roll. When rock and roll started, it was just rock and roll. Now there's punk rock en español, death metal, etc., etc. The same thing has happened to hip hop. It's not just this one sound in a box anymore. It's now has all these subgenres. Trap rap, there's the pop rap, there's Spanish rap, there's all kinds of different rap, and I think it's beautiful that the genre has really evolved into something so complex that infuriates some people because they think it should sound the way it still did in the 90s. But the thing is, we're 20 years past the 90s, and I love the evolution of where hip-hop is going. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm really, really honored to be a part of our generation, to represent our story. It's amazing.
Just to piggyback off of everything they pretty much said, like how it's just the base of music. If you, well, a lot of music from when I started listening to music, and to me, I feel like hip hop is one of the most creative genres out. Like it gives you the most space to show your creativeness because of all the subgenres and everything. But to me, with all the music that's going on now, it would like it's based off of all of the rappers that were before. It's like everybody, if you think about it, their lyrics, their flow, their style, it's all based off of somebody from a hip hop genre in the early 90s, late 80s, anywhere from there. Whether anybody wants to say this is just me, there's somebody from then that you look up to, that you really pinpoint and wanted to base your artistry off of, and then you put your spin off of it. So it's just the fact that it gives you that much more of a path to be that much more creative.
Yeah, for me, hip hop has been around as pretty much as old as I am, so it's all that I know, and it's great for me because it represents like where I come from, everything that's about me, everything that I'm close to. It's been like a family member that's been there as long as I can remember. So when I need something that gets me hyped, there's a song for that. When I need something to calm me down, there's a song for that. Something about all the different emotions and feelings and just any situations you're going through. There's either a lyric, a song, or something that can represent that, and that's what I love about it.
Appreciate y'all. I guess my response, just something that's a little different, is hip hop is how I learn about culture and the world. When moving to California, I realized that because I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly like Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, my family's Jamaican. So when I came out here, it was an opportunity to learn about Filipinos, Sikh, just a whole bunch of different cultures that I didn't have exposure to back home. And I learned about those cultures through hip hop. So it was like learning the language and getting to know people really deeply. So next question, really, and you started to touch on this a little bit, but who's a woman either in your life or in hip hop that you have looked up to? And we don't have to go in order. We can kind of like popcorn, you know what I'm saying?
Sure, I would definitely say Lauryn Hill and Jean Grey, for sure. Those women molded me to be who I am in hip hop. I definitely wouldn't be who I am without those two.
It wouldn't really be anybody in music. It would actually be my mom. Funny story, because one of the first solo songs I did by myself was my version to Doing It by LL Cool J. And it was like, it's one of those songs. And so when my mom told me, oh, if you're going to do that song, you better do that song, baby. I'm like, oh, okay. So, once I heard my mom tell me, like pretty much show me, like, really do what you want to do. Say what you want to say. It's not on me anymore. You're grown. Do what you want to do. So with that push that she gave me, it actually made me touch different parts of music. It actually made me become more creative. Because it's like, if mom can listen to something like that come out my mouth, then she will love anything that I can come up with. And I've always wanted to make my mom proud of me, because my mom was actually one of those parents. She was in middle class, you know what I mean? But she showed me more of her high side than her low side. I've seen it, but she always made sure to show me her high side so that I can grasp onto that and become a stronger individual. And because of that and all the things that she's taught me throughout time, that's just made me become stronger and focus more on what I really want to do.
I guess I'll go. Mine is kind of similar. I think I'm the only non-artist on the panel. The person that I look up to, I think the most, is my grandmother. She is the strongest, baddest woman that I know. Born in the 1920s, had multiple sort of side hustles and jobs and things like that to make ends meet, and always, encouraged us to keep our heads held high and told us that Black people are special and we descend from amazing kings and queens. And she lives in Indiana, would send me newspaper clippings of civil rights things, and she's the person who really instilled a sense of real pride in me. And so when I look for music or even women in business and things like that to look up to, I'm always looking for somebody who is innovating, who is entrepreneurial, like my grandmother. So I look at women like Queen Latifah, who started in the hip hop game at the very early stages, was always pro-Black, and then of course her career and her sound and her vibe has evolved as she's evolved. And I completely respect that, and I think she's fabulous. I think Missy Elliott is another one like that. So just women who are willing to take barbs and go at it and do their own thing. That's what I look for in a hip-hop artist.
I would definitely say Missy Elliott is probably one of my main inspirations as far as females in hip hop. She just has pushed so many boundaries. She was not the conventional look of when she was at her peak in music, her artistic expression, in her fashion, in her videos, in her flows, in her producing. Everything she does was just so different and innovative, and for sure she was one of my main inspirations for me to start rapping. And then now seeing her come back when she did the Super Bowl, and now she did that crazy. She's been coming back with some dope music, and she is still so cool. I saw her new video the other day. I was like, wow, she's just so cool still. she never left. She never skipped a beat. And I just really look up to strong women who are just really all about the business, you know, because being an artist is a beautiful thing, but being a businesswoman or a businessman, it's a completely different art in itself. And most artists can't do both. It's very hard to do both. So when I see somebody really excelling, it's amazing. And also I would say I really look up to Snow the Product as well. I feel like she's just such a hustler, and she has opened so many doors for not only just female rappers, but just rappers in general. I have been watching her for about 10 years, and the progress that she's made with her team and her clothing line and her music videos, her tours sell out all over the country, and she's just a really strong, independent woman. I really look up to her. I would say those are probably my biggest female inspirations in the female realm of hip-hop.
I gotta give a shout out to my wife. That's someone who inspires me. We've been married 10 years, and she represents a lot of the themes that I see in hip hop in terms of she, you know, just who she is. Wherever she's at is gonna be who she is, and that's really what hip hop is all about to me. Is that, you know, it's a way to express yourself and be who you are and take it or leave it for whatever it is. And that's kind of how she is. She blazes the trail in her profession. Of just being who she is and just being confident in that, and yeah, that's inspires me to do what I do and do what we do for our family and everything. So yeah.
Appreciate y'all. For me, it's my grandmother. She raised me from when I was like 3 days old. I was born in '87, so it's like the height of the crack cocaine era, right? So my mom was like super addicted to drugs and alcohol and that kind of thing. There's no father's name on my birth certificate. So my grandmother used to tell us growing up, I am your mother and your father. I make all the rules. You know, she taught me how to read by like reading the Bible, which was super interesting because I always kind of identified as a strong writer. And that's really kind of what moved me into the hip hop space. My older brother was a poet. So if it wasn't for that push around reading, writing, and just believing in something that's like bigger than yourself from my grandmother, I definitely wouldn't be the kind of artist in person I am today. I'm gonna ask you to like pause on this next question. But for everyone else on the panel, what are some highlights or challenges that you might experience in your work because of your identity? We often get a chance to like hear from men about this particular topic, so I just wanted to pass the mic.
There's a lot of double standards being a female MC in the rap game. I could give a really easy to understand example. If a man says, I had a menage a trois with 2 twin sisters, everyone will be like, yeah, my man, you know? But if I said I had a menage a trois with 2 twin brothers, everyone would be like, she's a slut, what a fucking whore, that's why I don't like her music, all she talks about is her pussy. You know, we have to face things like that, and it's just not quote unquote fair. I feel like that's really changing a lot within the last couple years. Most of the mainstream hip hop that's coming out by females is becoming super sexualized. And so that's changed a bit. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'm all for everybody expressing their mind, but that's just one thing that we face. We face double standards with that. And then a lot of the times, men will want to work with us, and then when they realize we don't want to sleep with them, they don't want to work with us anymore. And then we realize it was never about the work. It was never about my business. It was never about my talent. It was just an alternative motive, which I understand people have alternative motives all the time, but it's just unfortunate that a lot of times we are just objectified sexually instead of being objectified as a business entity, because we are hustlers and we do want to make money, and we obviously are generating money. So when somebody can't honor that side of us, it can get really annoying sometimes. And also I would say that a lot of the times, a lot of men, not all men, and I love men. I'm not a man hater. I'm not those feminists that are like, men are trash. I love men. It's a very small percentage of men that I'm talking about. But sometimes men will think that we can't do the job right or that we don't know what we're doing because we're women. Simple example is when I go to sound check with my DJ. I tour, one of the DJs that I tour with, DJ Delilah, she's a female, and when we do sound check, she knows what she's doing. We travel around the world and we get paid to do what we do. She will tell the sound engineer that it's not hooked in right, and he says, no, it is, and blah, blah, blah. And it just goes back and forth to him not thinking that she's competent enough to do her job. And I'm not saying that that means that it's because she's a woman, but there's just a certain kind of vibe that people give off when you know it, in fact, is about us being women and him thinking that we don't know what we're doing because we're women. And then, of course, when we start doing the sound check and when we sell out the show, afterwards the sound guy always comes up and says, wow, you guys are great. Oh my God, it's a completely different attitude. So that's just how it is sometimes, and I'm glad that I am a competent woman that can show other people that women can do everything that guys can do. And it's a beautiful thing when we can come together, when the sexes can come together and create magic, because that's what life is about. It's about unity, it's about teamwork, it's about working together, and it's great.
I would say for me being a black woman and me being a lesbian, I kind of get a whole bunch of different kind of reactions and interactions with customers. I would say my one biggest one, because I am a manager, I have to keep my composure like past 100%. But I've literally had a customer come in and call me the little black girl multiple times. And he knew my name. I told him my name more than one time. And it really did make me feel some type of way, but what made me feel even better was that I didn't turn into that little black girl, that stereotype that everybody likes to think or have of black women. So, like, it was one of those humbling experiences. I have humbling experiences a lot at work that just, like, reiterates of the type of person that I am and how I was raised. But outside of that, as far as what she was saying, she said people have their opinion. I will tell my opinion on this new wave of sexual music, whatever you want. I don't like it. I think that, yes, you know, Lil' Kim, Foxy Brown, you know, people of that nature, when they did their music, they were sexual, but they did it in a certain way. They didn't throw themselves out there like they bust dates, pretty much. And that's how these rappers, like some of these female rappers put themselves out there. Like, you can rap about that type of stuff, but it's how your image looks with it. I don't think that it's attractive that some of these female rappers are going out there talking about shooting guns and will shoot the next female and do all of this. For one, that's not ladylike, and two, you know for a fact that's not what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? The guys and the men you they might put you in those situations or around that stuff, but you're not just out with 10 women riding around with your car, in your car smoking weed, looking for somebody to run up on. That's not what you're doing. And even with some of the stud rappers, that's not what you're doing. But because you're a stud rapper and you're out here rapping hard, that's what you want to rap about. I've literally had somebody that's like, you know, they're coming up right now, ask me if I want to do a song with them. I was in the studio with them and I heard what they were rapping about. She's like, do you want to hop on? No, I'm okay. Well, why not? I don't rap about stuff that I don't do. I'm not going to put an image out there of myself that I'm not. Because if I actually start popping and everybody think, oh, I'm one that walks around, carries gun, and because I do like to look nice, they going to run up on me. I don't do that. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of the images that some of the female rappers are putting out right now that are getting the limelight, I personally don't agree with it at all. But back to as far as just me and what I deal with, I have a lot of guys, they let me know, you're doing it. You know, there's some things here, there's some things there, but you know, they look at the fact that, again, I am a stud rapper, and I've even had one person tell me, stud rappers aren't really getting that attention like that. Nobody wants to hear you go up there and talk about you being with another woman. Okay, but that's what I want to talk about. So if they like it, they like it. Why are you trying to shut it down for me? Anybody can like anything. There's people who would think that y'all would never probably think that I was a little geek. I was in band, I did choir, I did orchestra. You would look at me, that's not the first thing you would think. So it's like you never know what individual may identify with what you're rapping. So it's like I just think we need more of an open platform and not to just be looked at what I call a ratchet rapper or what I call what some people call a butch rapper. You just have to look at all women on all platforms just like how you look at all the men. We're all artistic, we're all creative, and sometimes I feel like women are a little bit more creative because we can do a little bit more with both sides. Because if a man goes with both sides, oh, the male is for sure gay, you don't come back from that at all. But people find that for women to be sexy. So they have a lot more space to be creative. And I just wish that they let us be more open and creative instead of just singling us in that one spot. And that's what's pretty much been going on.
Yeah, piggybacking on what they're saying, I would say one of the downfalls is definitely hip-hop being sexualized like crazy. Sex sells, and there's so many fire female rappers out there that are not exposing themselves in that kind of way, and they don't get the love because of it, because they don't want to be sexy or having their booty out, ass shots, all that bullshit. But I would say the highlight for me is proving people wrong. Like, absolutely, is when people put me in a place of thinking that I sound like everybody else. That's really why I don't really say much. I just let it speak for itself. And that is one of the dopest things that, like, what we got as female rappers, you know what I mean? Is because we're always put in a place where it's people are thinking what is predictable to them. And then when we kill it, it's the shit. And that's honestly what I live for, honestly.
So for me, again, the examples are endless, right, of times and places and spaces where as a woman or as a black woman, you know, I might feel a certain way. I work in politics, I'm a lobbyist. So when you look at the range of female lobbyists that are out there, first of all, California is one of the most active places that you can be politically. And every company that you can think of has a presence here in Sacramento with some dope, badass lobbyists, and some of them are women. But when you're a woman in this space, you know, particularly a woman that is decent looking, right? There will be endless stories about this woman supposedly sleeping her way to the top, or what she does in her personal life, or all sorts of things that just don't exist for men in the political space, right? And so as an up-and-coming, you know, trying to do my thing person in politics, that's always something that's on my mind, because I'm not trying to, I don't want to be seen in that way, but at the same time, I can't control that narrative necessarily, so all I can do is do my job and do my best and kind of let the chips fall where they may, but that's always something that's on my mind. Should I go to this event? Who's going to be there? What time am I going to leave? How many drinks am I going to have? All of these things go through my mind because you have to be calculating about sort of the way that you do your business in this space. But getting back, kind of moving to sort of a little bit more of the hip-hop discussion, I think one of the positive things that's happening in music generally right now is this, you know, people wanting to break those boxes that you guys are all talking about, right? Not just in hip-hop, but also when you start to blur the lines and look at some of the different genres. So Frank Ocean is a person who, you know, obviously blurs those lines of sexuality in his music all the time. Janelle Monáe does that. You know, who's the new one? Steve Lacy, dope. Also blurring those lines of sexuality and what's masculine and what's feminine and what's hip-hop and what's R&B. And I just think, like you guys are saying, it's a really interesting time in music, that even though some of these barriers exist, and even though we're seeing this hypersexualization of women of color in hip-hop, which has existed since the beginning of time, there's also a slew of female rappers that we have access to now through social media and SoundCloud and, you know, streaming services and things like that, that at least in the 90s, we didn't have that same access to. So I'm looking at it a little bit more optimistically. For every Cardi B, there's, Rhapsody, right? So it's good. It's really more about diversity, because sometimes I do want to listen to a little Cardi B, right? But, it's really about having the diversity of the music out there.
So, what can hip hop just as a culture, right? And like, I'm not putting the onus on some like invisible thing. Like when I talk about like hip hop as a culture, I mean us, right? Like, what can we do to help the culture become more equitable and inclusive? And for my folks out there, like equity is not the same thing as equal, right? Equity is about kind of creating more of that balance. It's not that everybody gets treated the same. It's how do we tip the scales in the other direction. So
I think that the more we express ourselves through hip hop, the more we will encourage other people to express themselves through hip hop. Hip hop is a rapidly growing genre, and within the last few years, it's becoming it's become finally socially acceptable, especially in the United States. It's basically the pop genre of today. The hip hop is now the main genre for kids in high school, people in college, people our age. It's really taken over, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, there's lots of sub-genres of hip hop now, and I think that the more we continue to diversify hip hop, the more different kinds of people will start to trickle in and join us. I mean, even now, like I said, there's so many subgenres. There's black rappers, there's Latina rappers, there's white rappers, there's Jewish rappers, there's gay rappers, there's trans rappers, there's old rappers, there's kids in grade school rapping, it's really, really become this universally accepted form of expression. And Gavlyn and I tour through Europe all the time, and you would not believe how much they love hip hop over there. It's beautiful. It's amazing that it has traveled all over the globe. It's all over the whole entire world now. And I think it's great. I think the more art people produce, the better the world will be, because everyone needs to find an artistic expression, an artistic way to let it out. And I feel like hip hop can be that for a lot of people. Some people like to paint, some people like to draw, some people like to cut hair, some people like to write. And writing over a beat, writing over a hip hop beat, knowing what people usually do on hip hop just gives you endless possibilities. There's not really a box anymore that it needs to sound like. So I think when you give people the freedom to think and the freedom to express themselves, it's just gonna lead to nothing but freedom. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely. Make it a point to stay true to yourself and express yourself. Actually rap about the life that you live. Be a human being. And, you never know who you're going to inspire. You never know who's going to relate to you. You never, expressing your story to the world could help so many people. And keep pumping it out. Don't give up on your dreams. Stay in the tunnel vision and bring it to life, because it is so apparent now that it's so possible. Honestly, Kendrick Lamar is gives me so much hope. He's one of the realest rappers in the game. And yeah, man, lead by example.
I would say to actually if we were to say anything from the community, from other people, would be actually real acceptance. Fully accept what we're doing. We're putting ourselves out there, whether it can be anything. There's people who tell their darkest, deepest secret in a song. They could not identify themselves, but that's their secret. And so it's when it comes to music, we're giving our all by expressing ourselves and putting it out there. So we just want everybody to actually listen and understand what we're talking about. That's how, if you talk to certain music heads, you understand and know by their conversation how they listen to music, how they understand music. Because I was just talking to Gavlyn Reverie earlier, and we were talking about some of the artists that are out now, and for some reason, the beat is one of the main things that catches anybody's attention nowadays. But it's like, okay, it can have a hard beat, but then they're mumbling on the beat. You can't understand what they're saying on the beat. They're literally, sorry, everybody likes Kanye West, but look, he made a song talking about poop. Like, and it was big. People loved it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you just have to, that's a song I wouldn't listen to based off of what he's saying, but because it has a nice beat. But if you listen to all his other stuff, what he's saying. You see what I'm saying? So like, a lot of people really love Kanye West because of what he's saying, what he's preaching, what he's instilling in people. So it's just a matter of how you hear it and how you accept it. And I think, again, that's just one of the big things that we need as far as female rappers is to be like fully accepted for everything that we do, not just our appearance.
Speaking from the perspective of a consumer, I would say be mindful of the art that you're consuming in the sense that you are challenging yourself to step outside of your bounds sometimes and try some new things. You know, pretty recently, Jermaine Dupri was asked, you know, what he thought about female rappers right now in the game or whatever, and he was just like, they're all just strippers. Like, I'm not interested in hearing about that. And he got highly criticized and all that good stuff or whatever because that's not representative of women in hip-hop. But I think, you know, for men who are out there trying to be supportive or trying to be, like, open-minded and things like that, step outside of your bounds and put yourself in the position of a woman by listening to her art. Or someone who is gay or trans or whatever by listening to their work. And appreciating it for what it is. I mean, we consume art by men all the time and understand the male perspective, or try to, right? And identify with it. And so I think a lot of times as women, or as people in the LGBT community or any other kind of marginalized community, all that we want is to be seen as human and to be accepted as that. And I think the more that we push ourselves outside of our comfort zones to consume things that require us to do that, the better that we all are.
And I think as much as I can add to what's already been said here, from my perspective, these are great things here, is also not only accepting it and listening to it, but also promoting it, like telling someone else about it. Like, you know, it's one thing to listen to it in your own space and in your own headphones and then not say anything about it. When the conversation comes up, you talk about the Kanyes and this and that, but you never talk about the Rhapsodies or whoever else are out there. So promoting it and entering into the discussion and really getting behind it, in addition to the acceptance is something that I would say as well.
Word. So, and Delilah, you started to touch on this just a little bit, but what can men do to become better allies?
Try. I mean, it's really, you know, like, just try to put yourself in the position of a woman sometimes. This is kind of off topic, but not. I was in New York. I took a trip to New York this year. Was in Harlem hanging out, and there was this group of like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, right? And it's a heat wave. They're walking around with these buckets of water, and I think they started initially throwing water on each other, and it morphed into them throwing water on random bystanders, people just walking down the street, right? And it was not cool. Anyways, me and my girl happened to get away from the crowd, and we were able to get out of Harlem without getting doused with water, and we were thankful. Show up back home in Sacramento, and I get on Twitter, and in my Twitter feed is this video of a woman in Harlem from the same group of boys with like 20 boys around her, and they're just throwing buckets of water on her, and she's begging for this cop to help her not be, you know, like assaulted with this water. And they're laughing, and it's hilarious to them, and it's a game, right? But to be a woman in that position and know that you can't do anything about it, that your physical safety is in jeopardy, and I know it's just water, and I know it's just a heat wave, and they thought it was a game. But like, I've been in that position before, and most women have been in a position before where they feel physically threatened. And I think a lot of times, like I saw that video and I thought, this is like rape culture to me. 100%, right? But I don't necessarily think that guys would see something like that and think like that. And you gotta just try to think from a perspective of a person who can't physically do the same things that you guys could do, and what that means and how that changes the way that we have to move in the world. And so just try, consume the art, watch the movies, read the books by women, about black people, about white people, about different sorts of people. This is how we identify and learn how to understand each other. But yeah, off topic, but on topic.
Again, I think it would just still to be, not be so judgmental of appearance. Cause like for me, again, like it all comes back to the fact that I am a stud. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of the things that I deal with guys, they tend to think that because I dress the way that I dress, that I want to be treated just like a guy. No, I know I am a woman. I am a female. So it's like when you talk to me, address me, and come at me like I'm a male, I am gonna give you a female response because that's not what I am. And it's like, that kind of puts me in a space because it's just like, wow, am I really being like judged and looked at by how I look? Do I need to change my appearance to let it be known about who I am? But this is who I am. Like, my appearance isn't me, it's just a piece of me, you know? So it's like, if we, as far as for me, I would say to have better allies is for certain male people, male figures and or artists to just understand and listen, like still listen to what they're saying. Because there's also women who dress sexual, but again, that's just how they like to dress and go to church every Sunday. Don't do any of that crazy stuff that you think they would do. And it shocks you because it's just like, oh, that's not who I thought you were at the beginning. You didn't know who I was. So it's like, I think we all need to get to know each other before we can just start thinking something of somebody and going based off of that. And then when it's not what you think it is, then it's all bad. So if you want something out of it, actually look them up, get to know them, have a conversation with them before you just put, oh, you do music, let's do music together. And then once you get to know who they are, then it's just it was a waste of time. So.
Yeah, piggybacking on what both of you guys are saying, definitely try. 1000%. Mute that low voice in your head of what you think we are into or what we represent just because we're dressed a certain way or look a certain way. And yeah, like honestly, give it a chance. Like you may be obsessed with it. You may find yourself in what we do. You know what I mean? And yeah, have respect for women 1000%. Like, it's just mad comedy to me how fools could talk about popping bottles, fucking all these bitches, and we can't do the same thing. So, honestly, yeah, treat us as an equal 1000%.
I think that to become better allies, men need to be more open-minded to really trying to understand the female perspective. And it's all about education and exposure. The more educated you are about different kinds of people, the better your life experience will be. Traveling has taught me so much about myself and about other people and different cultures. And the more I travel, the more I feel I'm better equipped to deal with other people of all different walks of life. And I feel like most people don't do a lot of traveling, and most people don't meet a lot of people. And I think that if we, as a society, were not so scared of rejection or taking a chance on trying something new, we would really be able to understand each other a lot more. And I feel like this rule could be applied to all different walks of life. I don't think it just applies to women, but it just applies in general with people getting to understand other kinds of people. Like if you're black, getting to understand how white people are. If you're straight, getting to understand how gay people are. If you're rich, getting to understand how the lower class works. You know, I think that just exposing yourself to different kinds of people that are not like yourself is only going to help you have a better experience and be more successful all around in life. And I think that would be a really good way to put it, to make people more intrigued with getting to work on being better allies with women, because usually people are just looking out for themselves, which is okay because that's just how life is. You should look out for yourself and you shouldn't do things that are not going to benefit you. But framing it like that, when we meet people, understand that if you understand other people better, your life will be more successful and enjoyable. I think that is probably a really good key to encouraging people and giving them an incentive to try to be better allies to women. We can all do more as a society, as a human race, if we work together more. So collaboration is key. And also, I just want to encourage all of the strong men throughout the world and in this room to please speak up when you see something wrong being done to a female. Because a lot of men out there, and I'm not saying all men, like I said, I love men. There's a very small shit percentage of men and women. There's a lot of bad people out there. There's a lot of great people, there's a lot of bad people out there. And when you see something bad happening, you need to say something. You can't just stand there like a coward and watch some guy talking shit to a poor lady for no reason. If you see something, as long as you know your life is not going to be in danger if you say something, you should feel obligated to say something. You shouldn't be scared of being embarrassed or getting into a small argument over helping another person. Because usually people that are like that are going around disrespecting people, nobody tells them anything. And that's why they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But if we put people in their place and let them know that what they're doing is wrong, they might think differently about it the next time they're thinking about doing that. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, definitely echo that. There's two things for me is vulnerability and accountability. Vulnerability in terms of learning more about, different cultures, different everything, but asking the right questions too. If you don't know something, get with someone who may have a better perspective on it, ask the right questions and put yourself out there. It's okay to not know something and be open to learning. The other part is accountability, and just echoing exactly what you said, is it starts with yourself first. If you see something and you don't call or check someone, even if it's your partner, your best friend, you can get in a circle and conversations come up, the so-called locker room talk or whatever. But if you sit there and let it go, you're just adding on to it. But if you don't, that's your opportunity to step in and check someone and kind of change the narrative, change the conversation, and maybe enlighten them on something else. And then when they hear it, coming from someone that either they really know very closely, or even if you don't know them, you never know how much that can change someone further down the next time they get into a similar situation. It may tie back to something that you said before. So accountability and vulnerability, two things that I would suggest.
Appreciate that. We're going to lighten it up just a little bit for our last couple questions. Davey D, he's a hip-hop blogger from Sacramento. He has a list of like 500 women MCs from all over the world, right? And it's super dope. The topic of conversation in the culture recently has been, top 50 lists, right? I'm just curious about your top 5, right? Like, who's in your top 5 right now? We know that it might change. This isn't a greatest of all time list. This is like, who are you listening to right now that you would say is in your top 5? That's a great clarification. It's not just women in hip hop, but if your top 5 list is an all women list, then cool. I'm down for that.
So it doesn't have to be in hip hop only.
Yeah, it can be your top 5. What are you listening to right
I would definitely have to say Janelle Monáe for sure. Jean Grey, always. Lauryn Hill, every day. Rap City. Tierra Whack.
Right now, I'm listening to Rhapsody pretty hard, YBN Corday, excuse me, LaKaylee 47, Anderson .Paak is my guy, and gosh, what else am I listening to right now? Saba. I like Saba a lot.
I've been listening to a lot of Young Thug. I've been listening to a lot of Migos. Kendrick Lamar is amazing. And it doesn't have to be hip hop. I always listen to Dead Mouse. He's always on my playlist. Always and always. And I guess myself, because I've really been enjoying the music that I'm getting ready to put out. And I'm really excited about it. I've been listening to it a lot, and it's almost here. So I'm really excited about it.
I'll say Kendrick, Cole, YBN, Corday. I guess the Dreamville all together. That whole album is on slap. And sheesh. Then Lauren and Missy. Those would be the other to round me off.
I'm gonna have to go off of what Reverie said myself because I'm working on a lot of projects right now. But the ones that I've been listening to a lot besides me would be Ball Greasy, like down South Phil. I'd have to go back a little bit and say DeBrat, Missy Elliott, LL Cool J, that's my guy, and just to hit my little R&B side, I can't even pick that one. I'll hit that some Charlie Wilson.
Nice. Folks, this is really hard. Rhapsody, my homie Oompa, she just dropped a project called Cleo. Go listen to that. She was 2018 Unsigned Artist of the Year in Boston. Those two, Marlon Craft, because I'm super big into like hip hop that's super jazzy and includes a bunch of live instruments. In that same vein, the YBN Corday album is really dope too. And Buddy, if you haven't heard Buddy, that Harlan and Alondra joint is crazy. Last question before we take just a couple of minutes, opening up for Q&A. At home, on the road, what does self-care look like for you?
For me, after I'm done like making sure everybody else is good, I think for me would just be honestly Netflix, a blunt, and a bed and a fan. That's pretty much it for me. Maybe a pedicure here and there, but comforting stuff.
Shoot, I would have to say comedy is like the ultimate self-care for me. Laughter is like so important. And guided meditations are so helpful. And definitely a blunt. I agree with you on that. And yeah, quality time with family and friends for sure.
For me, self-care when I get off of tour is definitely number one, eating well. I love being on the road, but I hate having to eat on tour because we eat out every day and it's just a bunch of garbage, a bunch of stuff I don't want to eat. And when I get back home, I cook every single day. 99% of the stuff I buy is organic. I'm all about eating healthy and eating lots of vegetables and just taking care of my body with the food that I eat because I stress my body a lot with my job. And I feel like it's just really important to have good fuel inside of you. I also have been getting more into meditation, and I am a super workaholic. So lately what I've been trying to do is balance my personal life more and spend more time with the people I love, because that's something that over the past couple years I really neglected. I neglected myself because I put my career first. And I finally, within the last just few months, have been really trying to turn that around. And when I do that, I feel a lot better. So when I get home tonight, starting tomorrow, I'm about to cook me some food, get a massage, meditate, and go chill with people that rejuvenate my soul and that I can really be myself and feel relaxed around. And you know what? Also, I'm really blessed because the people that I do tour with, Gavlyn, Dubplate Zoo, every time I go on tour, I am touring with people I love and can talk to and be myself around. I think that helps so much because I've also done tours in the past where I was with people who make me really stressed out or people that I didn't really know like that, and it's just a completely different experience. So for those of you who want to tour or who are already touring, I would recommend changing it and making sure that you're always on the road with people that you love and that do rejuvenate your soul, because being on the road is really, really strenuous mentally, physically, and emotionally. So when you're able to feel supported by the people you're with, you're basically living with people when you're touring with them. It's a completely different experience. Yeah.
I am a spiritual person. I talk to God every day. I like to journal. I think journaling is, I'm like the journal disciple. Everybody should have a journal. Yeah, I also like to draw, so making time for my art and doing that, really important. So take care of yourselves.
Music, you know, just whether it's just putting on the headphones and listening to, I got like several different playlists for whatever mood I'm in or need to get out of. You know, doing my own DJ sets in the house or whatever, or making a new song or whatever the case may be. Taking a walk around the block, listening to music. It always comes back to that. But the other thing is my kids. You know, that like they're the purpose for everything that I do. So if I do get into a mental space where I need some relaxation or whatever, they are my relaxation. Let's read a book. Let's go outside. Let's do something, because that. It, again, is my purpose. So if I feel like I'm living my purpose, then that helps me mentally.
For me, it's just writing and like listening to music. I love that. But when it's not that, I need to be very just like physical, kinesthetic. So like I like to get out on the basketball court too. Hip hop basketball was a thing, and then I like fractured something in my kneecap like a year and a half ago. So then it stopped being a thing. But those are a couple of things that I like super enjoy. I wanted to kind of end like our conversation with that question because it's something that never really gets talked about. I know that you both talk about mental health a lot in your music, and just it's a difficult thing for, I think, artists or people to kind of grasp. You can get very kind of heady into like the science and brain stuff and all this physiological responses, but hearing just some practical ways for people to take care of themselves was really important. So, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. I think maybe we can take like 3 questions from our audience here. You don't have to like use the microphone, but if you could just speak loudly enough for our panelists to hear you. Jazzy.
I can start with this one. I mean, through our fellowship program that we just went through, I learned a lot about myself in terms of there was a lot of anxiety and fear that I grew up with that I didn't realize that was holding me back from a lot of things of like, oh, don't do that. You can, you know, that'll fail, or you can hurt yourself, or, you know, you're not, all these things that I realize aren't what's reality. So going back to that last question, a lot of things that for me is I'm healing and getting over that and learning a lot of, first of all, realizing that about myself and learning what the triggers are that starts that. But then even before that, learning what the methods are for overcoming or getting out of those thought processes. So even before they come up, I already have a plan. So as soon as I start having those thoughts, again, going back to that music or whatever, put on the playlist or take that walk or do what I gotta do to get out of that space. So that's really has been something I've just come to realize even in the earlier part of this year, and seen a lot of growth from that. And it feels good to actually first recognize it and be like, okay, that's why I've been the way that I am, and now to see a couple of months removed from that, how healthier I feel as a result.
I think for me, my biggest thing right now is change. I haven't really been a person who liked change, and I still don't like change, but I know it's what I need to become a better person and grow in many different aspects in my life. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of nerve-wracking, you know. But at the end of the day, what really helps me is the fact that if I get too lost in it, I will go ask my best friend or my mom, you know, hey, I need to fully understand this. Am I doing this wrong? Do I need to switch something? Am I looking at this the wrong way? So I think my biggest obstacle right now that I'm going through is change, but I'm also feeling the positiveness from it as well, because it's like I'm really becoming my own person. And I've been going through situations and obstacles that is testing me and is showing me what I've learned, what I've grasped, what I've been instilled with, and what I can handle and what I can't handle. And right now, I'm more so on the fact that I can handle and get through anything that I need to. So change is great, and I just gotta get used to it.
I don't necessarily feel like I'm in the process of healing from something per se, but I do think that, at least for me, valuing myself is incredibly important, and I feel like at every stage of my life there's a new sort of layer to peel back on that, on what it means to really have self-worth, and how you sort of translate that into your own life, and through relationships and job opportunities and all these different sorts of things. Like there's something new to peel back in what it means to like stand in my own truth and know who I am and put that forward in everything that I do. So
Let's take another question. Chez.
You want my opinion on hip hop being over sexualized in regards to women? So I am a person that's completely 100% against censorship. I don't think anybody should not be able to say what they want. If you hate Latina rappers, you can say that. If you hate women, you can say that. I don't think people shouldn't be able to say what they want to say, whether that's against me or against someone else. I'm 100% against freedom of speech. I think that's a beautiful thing in this country. I do realize that that will offend people, but you know what? This is the real world, and people are going to say things that are going to offend you. And if you're going to be scared and act like you can stay in this little safe bubble, then by all means help you, you know, because that's not how the real world works. And that's why I'm against censorship. So I can't say that I don't want people to express themselves that way, because like I said, I think people should be able to say whatever they want. But I will also say, after I say that, that I am doing what I can to set an example of what I think people should be doing. And I do take sexy photos sometimes. I do say sexual things sometimes in my lyrics because I'm a human being. You know, I'm a woman. I do want to feel sexy sometimes. I do sexual things sometimes, you know, and I think that I don't want to stray completely away from that because those are big parts of me. Those are parts that I keep more to myself, though, because that's just how I believe people should treat sexuality. I think that sexuality is a beautiful thing, but I think it's more me from my personal life. I hold my sexuality as something very sacred and something that I only express to people I genuinely have a connection with. I don't want to show the whole world my ass, and I'm not against people doing that. But what I do is lead by example. I think it's a good thing to be able to express your sexuality, but the way I lead by example is by doing that in small proportions, I guess. You know, I also, with my lyrics, like I said, I do talk about sexual things sometimes, but in general, I don't, because that's also how I wish people would represent themselves. I think that women and men, we have a lot more to us outside of our sexuality, and sexuality is a very important thing for humans, but I am more complex than just being a sexual being, and that's how I represent myself, you know. And I think that it's not a good example to set for the youth with hip-hop being over-sexualized. That's where I think it becomes a problem, because women are grown women, we could do what we want, but I know how I was influenced by hip-hop when I was 14, and if I was hearing all the stuff I'm hearing on the radio now back when I was 14, I might have acted a lot different. You know, I grew up when I was listening to gangster rap, and I was a gangster when I was a kid, you know? But had I listened to music about being a big slut, you know, not that there's anything wrong with being a slut, but I don't know how I would have turned out, you know? And I'm not saying that all kids are doing exactly what they hear on the radio, because at the same time, it's your parents' job to raise you. But like myself and my brothers, our parents weren't really there. My dad left when I was 4, had a new family, and my mom was working all day. You know, so we were in the hands of daycare, in the hands of the radio, in the hands of the TV, in the hands of our friends. And all of those things have a big influence on children. So just goes back to me saying that I will lead with my example as much as I can. And I'm doing my best to be a good, I don't want to say role model, because I don't want people to think that I'm a role model, because that's not what I aspire to be, because I think that's too much pressure. But I think that I'm just a realist, and I represent myself as a realist, and I hope that I can influence grown and young people as best as I can. I'm trying my best, and I have a big platform, and as you see, if you do know my music and what I'm doing, I give all sides of myself, and I'm just here trying my best, and that's all I can do, and that's a lot. And everyone, that's what I tell everyone. Everyone says, how can we change the world? I can't do anything, I'm just one person. And I always say, you can lead by example, and that is a humongous thing. You're one person, but if you're one person that influences 5 people, those 5 people might influence 5 more people, and 5 more people, and 5 more people, and it's just a big effect. I could just keep going and going.
Appreciate that. One final question.
Okay, hello. Hi. I'm Raja, Queen Raja. I was gonna say, just to bring it all in, I like the vibe that we felt, but as far as like to end the night and to ask a question, especially about like love, hip hop, just being a person of this time, on how we all have storytelling to tell. What's a good thing to like simmer on our souls, and what you can see as far as your artistry or just a person. So like, what would you like normalize? Like all of us doing, if you were doing this, whatever you found to do that's true to you, what would you give out that inspiring thing? Like, I want to normalize this. It's just a small thing, but it's that for you.
I would say trust in yourself. Trusting yourself has been like my #1 thing for myself, because I would always doubt and question my process, my ideas, and everything that comes with the journey. So I would say trust in yourself and acting on that. Like when you have an idea or whatever it is, don't listen or ask anybody else's questions like, yo, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? If it feels good to you and you like it, do it.
I would say self-reflection and a desire to evolve. I think if we all like took care of ourselves in that way, we'd have a better world, right?
I would say one of the most important lessons that I've learned within the last year would definitely be to only keep people around you that love and support you. And I would say to only keep people around you that reciprocate the energy, love, and respect that you give them. I would say to hold yourself in the respect that you hold the people you love, because a lot of times it's so easy for us to tell our friend, oh, why did you let him talk to you like that? Why didn't you tell him something when he did that? Or why didn't you tell her something when she did that to you? But then if somebody that we love does that to us, that disrespect, somehow it's okay. Be it a lover or a family member or a longtime friend. You know, I think that people, us in this room and myself included, need to learn how to respect ourselves more. We need to learn how to have boundaries. And we need to really come to the true realization that if somebody is continuously disrespecting you, that they do not care about you. As much as you want them to care about you, as much as you care about them, if somebody's showing you over and over that they don't respect you, you need to swallow that pill and just keep it moving. Doesn't matter if it's your brother, your longtime friend, your partner that you have a child with. It does not matter. We make too many excuses for people we love, and we're taught to just go through everything with the people that we love. But you know what? Sometimes the people that we love don't really genuinely love us back. And that's usually because they don't love themselves. And I think that getting rid of toxic people like that is just a really important thing. And also another thing that I've really been trying to act on the last year of my life is not doing things without expecting something in return. Because my whole life I was taught, oh, you shouldn't expect things in return. You should just do things out of the goodness of your heart. But I think that that logic gets a lot of people in trouble, including myself. I think that you should expect things in return. If I'm gonna open the door for you, if you don't say thank you, I'm not gonna open the door for you anymore because I don't need to do that for you. And that's just a small metaphor. You know, I apply that in my whole life. If I'm gonna put somebody on and do something for somebody, they don't have to do the exact same thing for me, but they have to reciprocate that energy or whatever in some other kind of way. And if somebody in your life is just taking and taking and taking, and you don't get anything in return, then you need to reevaluate that relationship and probably just dead it. And remember that if you're keeping space for only people like that who are just taking and taking and taking, you're not going to have any room to open the doors when somebody is ready to come into your life and reciprocate with you. So basically, it just all comes down to self-respect. We all need to respect ourselves more. We need to have higher standards, and we need to realize that you are only going to receive what you feel you deserve. So up the bar.
Two things for me: continual growth, do something different than what you did the day before. Challenge yourself every day. I haven't done a panel before. This is my first time, so something new every day. Challenge yourself. Second is, you know, be nice to each other. I mean, that sounds cliche and corny or whatever, but every day I try to, any person I interact with, I'm going to be positive, be nice to them, and, you know, if I don't get it back, that's, you know, one way or another, but that energy that I put out there is still going to come back in some way or another to me. Maybe not from that individual, but karma, God, spiritual, all of that is going to come back to me. So that's how I live life.
I would just say, for me too, this is what I've been trying to do for myself as far as what I was saying with change, is being open-minded and willing to try new things, whether it be personal, food, music, a new place you're going to hang out, a new person that you're talking to. Just try and do something out of the normal for you, and then you'll be able to incorporate with that, with anything, with any situation, any environment that you get into. You'll know how to handle yourself or what to expect.
Short answer, the things I want to see normalized are on my last album, Promise in the Land of Milk and Honey. It's really kind of centers love, right? And how we treat each other, how we treat our community, how we treat our partners, the whole nine. So if you want to know my thoughts on that, go cop the album. It's also streaming everywhere. So can we get a real big round of applause for all of our panelists? And I know that y'all are going to be around. You got the merch table set up. So if you haven't had a chance to check out their merch table, go buy shirts, crew necks for the winter, that whole thing. Do that so that they walk away empty-handed. We also have Drinks by Drew. He's got some custom cocktails. I don't think he's got to-go cups, though. I'm sorry. But don't drink and drive. Please Lyft or have a designated driver with you. And a new kitchen is still out here. So they're doing, jerk chicken tacos, Peruvian tacos. Please buy all their food. If you're looking to stay connected with folks, there are flyers that are posted on the bulletin board and on some of the tables here by the mixer. It's got everybody's social media handles. So if you want to just take a quick photo of that, and then you could follow all of our panelists and in our amazing venue. We're here at the Village Theater in South Sacramento. It's a Black-owned, women-owned theater. They focus primarily on Black theatrical productions and giving opportunities to Black actors, playwrights, et cetera, et cetera. But they are also interested in doing many more community events just like this one that you experience here today. If you have a show, an open mic idea, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to host a podcast here, feel free to connect with them. About that, their social media handles also on those flyers, okay? Appreciate y'all, love y'all. Let's eat, drink, be merry. All good? There it is. Appreciate y'all, thank you so much. Can we get a photo? Can we do that?
Everyone make some noise for Paul for putting this together.